We started off with in the beginning of this conversation, reparations.
Yeah.
As ridiculous as they make it assume or seem, and as much as a reality, just for me on the outside looking in, it's starting to appear and highly due to people like you and things that you express. Is it something that you really realistically see being something that we'll see in our lifetime, or is it projected maybe with the course of momentum you see for the future?
I see it in our lifetime. All we have to do is just be on code and just stay on our square. We got to understand these people in the dominant society, they've never given us anything voluntarily.
Never, y'all.
Never. We got to understand that. They're not going to do this thing voluntarily. We have to have a political movement, a cultural movement, a social movement, an educational movement to stand on our square. They didn't want to release us out of slavery. We got to understand black folks were fighting and rebelling against the system when they released us.
They hold us back.
Yeah.
Trying to go.
In the 1960s, remember, white people didn't wake up and say, hey, let's stop, let's take the colored signs off the water fountains. Let's stop the Jim Crowism. Let's stop this. They never said that. We had to go out in the streets and say, hey, you're going to stop doing this shit. Yeah? So it's always up to us to stand on our square and say, hey, enough is enough. We're not going to have that shit going on here. And when we get something popping, we have to watch the back door because they oftentimes will sneak something else in detrimental.
But please explain to me, when we think about COINTELPRO, all the way back from the Panthers, I've watched The Birth of a Nation, and it seemed like Nat Turner was going to do it into this little young boy, whether that's Hollywood or not, but it's like this young boy went back and told, how do we ever get to a point where we don't have our own language? How can we ever be effective within a society where we're relying on our oppressor for so much of our resources, so much of our intel? So many of us are convinced that we need to do our best white man impression to be successful here. How do we ever counter that in a proportion that'll be effective?
You counter that by codification. That's called being on code with each other. And being on code with other black people means whatever I do, however I interact with that person, is going to be something that's going to be empowering to not just that person, but to us as a community. Instead, we are taught to be rugged individuals. Just go for yours. So I'm going to harm this black person because this white person is going to throw me a couple of dollars. We got to get out of that mentality. When I got started writing books and doing stuff on television, look, they were throwing money at me to just do relationship books. I could have just said, fuck the black community and just sat up here with white folks.
Steve Harvey.
Yeah, I could have been doing that. I mean, I was on The Tonight Show and Jay Leno and on Conan's show and all of that stuff. They were trying to give me a talk show. But I saw that we as a community, we needed some empowerment. And I used to be in the streets. I know how to get some damn paper. I'm not dependent upon them. Yeah, I'm not dependent on them. I don't give a shit. I'll eat without them. There's some black folks who don't know how to go out here and get it.
What motivated your transition from the guy you just described to a guy who seems to, if you didn't want anybody to know, you appear to be somebody who never knew about the streets, who was educated in the greatest of establishments? What triggered that transition in your life, and what do you consider yourself now versus the guy who you just described, the guy from the streets versus now?
Well, anybody, if you're in the streets, man, and let me say this, out here in LA, man, a lot of the street dudes back in the day, I'm talking about back in the day, were very intelligent people. You understand?
Back in the day.
Back in the day. You dig? You remember back in the day?
Correct.
Cats, man.
Remember the letters that
man
from prison used to be the most
elaborate. It looked like some shit from a law firm, dude. Dudes were geniuses.
Yeah.
Like, damn, niggas.
Even the greeting used to be like this, y'all. Dear so-and-so, I hope this letter finds you in the most humblest respects of God's grace and blessing. Well, that's just the introduction to the letter. But go ahead.
Man, go listen to interviews of Tookie Williams talking. Tookie sounds like a Rhodes Scholar, man. This dude was incredibly intelligent, very articulate. So back in those days, man, you couldn't be a dumb nigga in the streets anyway. Because, that would look like, okay, this dumb nigga get pinched, he gonna tell on every fucking body. So you trusted dudes who had some wit, some smarts. The dude who had some intelligence, those are the dudes that you kind of trusted. That's why I respect my brother Ice-T. Very smart dude.
Shout out Ice-T.
Very good dude. Very smart dude. Sharp
legend around here.
So I wanted to show dudes, man, look, the shit you did in the streets, man, those rules can apply to the rest of the corporate world, the rest of the dominant society. It's all about having integrity with whatever you do. Doing things where people can trust you, because that goes a long way. I get a lot of projects done, and I get a lot of grassroots projects funded from the grassroots because people trust me. They know that I'm going to follow through. On the streets, you couldn't be an untrustworthy dude or have the reputation of being an untrustworthy dude. Niggas will pop your fucking head off being like,
they got to trust you to deliver on the consequences associated with violating you.
You can't even be associated with an untrustworthy dude. I remember years ago, man, on some street shit, a partner of mine.
On the east side?
Okay,
go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
But it was a partner of mine came from out of town, and he was just kind of hanging out, and he was they were at the club high-siding and telling people all types of shit just because they knew they were going to go back home.
Right.
And they told some dudes I know that they had a plug on this and a plug on that. And the dudes my friends, they left town, but the dudes out here kept calling me, hey, man, where's your guy? He said he had a plug on whoop-de-whoop. I don't know what y'all talked about, man. Then they hit me up. Yeah, man, I'm trying to get in touch with your guy, man. He said he was going to do whoop-de-whoop. Where? I said, I don't know. Then they hit me with, how well you know them dudes, man. So then they got on me. I knew where he was going. Like, hey, what the fuck you doing with those type of niggas who ain't even trustworthy? So I start looking funny. So that's why it's important, man, to not only you be thorough, you be around other thorough people.
That's very wise because he and I, as far as the producer, Alex Alonso, we often encounter different platforms that entertain certain talent that he and I would never entertain based on integrity. Yeah. And we have friendly relationships with other people we think, judge talent by the same criteria. Everybody does it, bro. Yeah. We have to realize that real is rare.
Yes, indeed.
And it's a reminder I often run across, bro. Oh, God.